Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Wayne State University. Please take a moment to silence all electronic devices you may have with you this afternoon. My name is Kim Trent, and I'm a member of the Wayne State University Board of Governors. I am pleased to welcome you to an event that's both long overdue and right on time, the honorary degree ceremony for Viola Liuzzo, one of Michigan's greatest heroines. We will begin today's program by asking you to stand, and gentlemen, please remove your hats, for our national anthems performed by members of the Wayne State University Choral Union under the direction of Dr. Gerald Custer.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's vast gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Lift every voice and sing, till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise, high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, let us march on till victory is won.
50 years, 1 month, and 3 days ago, thousands of brave men, women, and children gathered in Selma, Alabama, for what was supposed to be a peaceful 54-mile march to the state capital of Montgomery to demand voting rights for African Americans. The marchers didn't get far. When they neared the end of the Edmund Pettus Bridge, they found their way blocked by Alabama state troopers, led by Dallas County Sheriff Jim Clark. The troopers told the crowd to turn around, and when they didn't, the troopers attacked the crowd with clubs and tear gas. Mounted police chased retreating marchers and continued to beat them. I'm sure that Sheriff Clark and the troopers thought that they won that day because they shut down the march. What they didn't count on was the indignation felt by fair-minded people of all races all over America when they viewed the violent images of men, women, and children being viciously attacked on Bloody Sunday. And they didn't count on Americans of all races joining the marchers on the front line for another march just 2 weeks later. Viola Liuzzo was one of the brave Americans that Sheriff Jim Clark did not count on. She wasn't a seasoned activist, she wasn't Black, she wasn't Southern, but she was horrified by the bloodshed on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. And she realized it wasn't enough to just be horrified. Mrs. Liuzzo knew that she had to do something. So she got in her 1963 Oldsmobile and she drove by herself from Detroit to Selma for the 4-day march that began on March 21st. Now let's just take a pause there. How many of us would drive from Detroit to Alabama for any reason by ourselves? Let's face it, that's a really long trip to take without company. But Mrs. Liuzzo didn't just sign up for a long solo trip. She knew that she was signing up for an assignment that was fraught with danger. But she didn't hesitate and she didn't back down. When she arrived in Selma, she volunteered for the Transportation Committee and shuttled marchers to and from drop points. Because of the participation of marchers and volunteers like Mrs. Liuzzo, the march was a success. She called home to tell her family that the march had ended and she was safe. Sadly, that wasn't the last call that they received that day. That night, when it was nearly midnight, the phone rang and Mrs. Liuzzo's husband and 5 children learned that their loved one had been fatally shot by a member of the Ku Klux Klan as she traveled on Interstate 80 from Montgomery headed toward Selma. She was only 39 years old. There are no words to describe the devastating toll that Mrs. Liuzzo's death took on her family. But her death was not in vain. Under pressure from Dr. King and other civil rights leaders, President Lyndon Baines Johnson championed the landmark Voting Rights Act in the weeks following Bloody Sunday. But even with the president's support, passage of the Voting Rights Act was far from certain. Many historians believe that Mrs. Liuzzo's murder inspired many members of Congress to take action, and by the end of the summer, both chambers of Congress had passed legislation. Last month marked the 50th anniversary of Mrs. Liuzzo's murder, and tomorrow, April 11, 2015, will be the 90th anniversary of her birth. On August 6th, we will celebrate the 50th anniversary of the enactment of the Voting Rights Act. At the time of her death, Mrs. Liuzzo was a part-time nursing student here at Wayne State University. Wayne State is often called a university of opportunity. I can't think of a better example of our university's mission than a woman who gave her very life so all Americans could have access to opportunity. And now, I'd like to invite the university's 12th president, Dr. Emory Wilson, to the podium for a welcome from the university. Prior to joining Wayne State in August 2013, President Wilson served as Deputy Director for Strategic Scientific Planning and Program Coordination, that's quite a title, at the National Institutes on Minority Health and Health Disparities at the National Institutes of Health. His research has focused on glaucoma and blindness in populations from the Caribbean to West Africa. He was elected for the list of best doctors in America for a consecutive 14 years by Best Doctors, Inc. In 2003, he was elected as a lifetime member of the Institute of Medicine in the National Academies, one of the highest honors in the field of medicine. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Emory Wilson.
Well, thank you very much, Governor Trent. And good afternoon, everybody. And welcome to Wayne State University for this very, very special event. Sometimes it can take a long time to acknowledge courage and bravery, like Viola Liuzzo's, but I'm so glad that we finally are giving this courageous woman the honor she so richly deserves. Now, you've met Governor Trent. I also want to thank members of the Board of Governors who you haven't met yet, who are in attendance today. In fact, I think all of them are here. So let me just acknowledge Gary Pollard, the chair of the board, Paul Masseron, the vice chair, and Governors Diane Dunaskis, David Nicholson, Sandra O'Brien, Dana Thompson, and Marilyn Kelly. Can you all just stand and be recognized? Thank you. And I also see 2 former board members sitting here in the front row here, so I should recognize Eugene Dreiker and Tina Abbott. Thank you. Are there others here? Are there others here? And Annetta Miller. Where is she? She's in the back. Oh, there she is. I want to give special thanks to Kim Trent for her leadership in bringing this honorary degree to fruition. You know, 10 years ago, she brought this request to the Board of Governors when she was a student to give an honorary degree to Ms. Liuzzo, and she was turned down at that time. And whenever you talk to her about this, you can feel her passion. This is a topic that she never tires to really talk about. She's been working for a decade now to make this happen. And I've seen her over the past month just pour her heart and her soul into this daily, into making this event what it is today. And we're grateful that she persevered and kept this vision alive, even though it took a long time. And she mentioned in her comments that about she mentioned in her comments about this being the right time. And I'm just reminded that, sometimes even brilliant ideas take time to mature, and I think this is one of those, because I do think it's the right time, and part of the reason why it's the right time is because of the confluence of activities that have happened as a result of everybody remembering her and wanting to honor her. When we were making plans for this event, we really was thinking in terms of just an honorary degree event. Then we learned that the law school was making plans of their own for commemorative plaque in her honor, the social justice icon, and we're happy that we could join together into one great celebration. So thank you, Dean Brinson, for your role in bringing the law school's contributions to Ms. Liuzzo's legacy. But that's not all. There are a number of other things going on. In fact, in honor of Ms. Liuzzo, I think you all know about this, but the renovation of the Viola Liuzzo Park, which is an extraordinary undertaking in itself, is happening this week also. And I want to thank the array of volunteers who are making that happen also. Thank you. So I think all of these events and honors on the eve of what would have been Viola Liuzzo's 90th birthday speak to our common, deeply felt admiration for this remarkable woman. She wasn't a soldier. Yes, she put herself on the front line of danger for the sake of equality nonetheless. Her bravery is breathtaking. Her passion for equality is inspiring. And thanks in part to this commemorative event, today and over the weekend, her legacy will be everlasting. Once again, thank you all for joining us in this momentous occasion.
Thank you very much, President Wilson. It is now my pleasure to introduce the Chair of the Board of Governors and my colleague, Gary Pollard, who will bring greetings on behalf of the board. Gary? Sorry, Governor Pollard.
Thank you, Kim, and good afternoon. On behalf of the Wayne State University Board of Governors, I would like to thank all of you for joining us for this historic event. When Governor Kim Trent proposed this honor for Mrs. Liuzzo, our board may have had the shortest debate in its history. In fact, Kim only brought one vote. All 8 voted aye on this item. Ms. Liuzzo is more than worthy of this rare and prestigious honor. Wayne State University has an important role to play in the healing and growth of Detroit. One reason our students choose a Wayne State University education is because they want to change the region and the world for the better. Mrs. Liuzzo understood that we all have a role to play, and we are immensely proud that she was a student at our university when she took that fateful trip to Alabama. She is a role model for not only yesterday, but modern day students. The Wayne State Board of Governors is very pleased to honor her in this meaningful way. Again, today, all 8 members of the Wayne State Board of Governors are here, along with several of our previous board members. And again, I'd like to introduce them. We have our Vice Chair, Paul Masseron. As I call your name, please stand again. Diane Danaskis. Governor Marilyn Kelly. Governor David Nicholson. Governor Sandra Hughes O'Brien. Governor Dana Thompson. And Governor Kim Trent, Kim serves as honorary chair, of course, for this event. In addition to the current board members, we also have with us today, without remiss, Annetta Miller in the back. Annetta, I miss you. Eugene Dreiker. Eugene. Tina Abbott, my good friend. Again, on behalf of my colleagues, welcome to Wayne State University. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Governor Pollard. And now, speaking on behalf of our congressional representatives is Congresswoman Brenda Lawrence from the 14th Congressional District. Please welcome Congresswoman Lawrence.
I want to say good afternoon to everyone. I just want to say to Wayne State and to Kim Trent and all of you in this room, thank you for remembering, for taking the time to reflect on our history and honoring a woman who stood out when many sat at home. She was courageous, but most of all, she was a person who cared about equality. I was honored to stand on the bridge for the 50th anniversary of Selma with Congressman Lewis. He gathered the members of Congress together and walked us through everything that happened that day. He said, as we stood right here in this spot and we came to the peak of the bridge, we saw the police standing on the other side, armed, and we knew it was not going to be a good day. He walked us through it, and his passion today on what happened at that moment is still real. And what's so important about today is awakening that spirit of standing up against injustice. A woman that didn't have to. She was a mother. She was a wife. But that passion to say, I will not allow injustice in my country to anyone, whether they look like me or not, is what we should celebrate today. And it should awaken that fire that so many of us in this room, that privileges and rights we take for granted. I was speaking to a group of people who were saying that it's time for us to come together and make a difference in the city of Detroit. And I asked the question, there was a time in our history where people died to open the doors to schools because we were not allowed in. There was a time when we weren't allowed privileges. And now the laws are in our favor, but it's time for us as a people to stand up and walk through those doors and take advantage of the education. To stand up when there are injustice with our police across this country. We can't sit at home. And if you do anything today, I want you to get that spirit of standing up, walking out your door, driving by yourself, and the thoughts that had to be going through this woman's mind to say, not on my watch, not while I am here. I have a purpose and I have a reason. So today, as Wayne State is doing the right thing, I want her spirit of this great woman to leave this room with you and make sure that we continue to respect and fight against injustice, against any people in these United States. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman Lawrence. Next, representing Governor Rick Snyder, I am pleased to introduce a very good friend of Wayne State University, Harvey Hollins, Director of the Governor's Office of Urban Initiatives, with a special announcement from the Governor.
Good afternoon. Well, yes, good afternoon. This is an honor for me to be here, and it's certainly a privilege to have the ability to represent the governor here on this day. The ripples that people make in their lives of other people by good actions and courage really has profound impact. Ralph Waldo Emerson, in his poem "To Succeed," at the end it says, to know that even one life has breathed easier because you have lived is to have succeeded. And I want to tell the family, because your mother lived, I breathe easy. And I want to thank you for that. I have here a proclamation from the state to recognize Viola Liuzzo, or Viola Liuzzo. Viola, okay. It's a term of art. I asked the provost, and she didn't know. I figured I can say anything now. She didn't know. Viola Liuzzo, and it's from the governor. The whereas statements are printed in your programs. It's the honorary degree citation. So I'm not going to repeat that here. You can read that for yourself. But it says, on behalf of the people of the state of Michigan, I, Rick Snyder, Governor of Michigan, do hereby proclaim April 11th, 2015, Viola Liuzzo Day. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Harvey. And next, representing the city of Detroit, please welcome Detroit City Council President Brenda Jones.
Good afternoon to all. To the Board of Governors, President Wilson, the Liuzzo family, dignitaries, and invited guests. I am Detroit City Council President Brenda Jones, and on behalf of the City Council and citizens of Detroit, I join you in honoring the legacy of Miss Viola Liuzzo, who on the outside appeared to be a humble Wayne State University college student and mother of 5 children. However, on the inside, she faced down whatever fear she might have had to drive to Selma, Alabama, to participate in the civil rights protests and marches. Before leaving for the march, she remarked to her husband, "It's everybody." Ms. Liuzzo had a strong sense of commitment to assisting civil rights efforts due to the injustice and discrimination she witnessed firsthand coming from the South. Her courage represents what is the best of Detroit and Detroiters. I am honored to celebrate her fight for equality on this 50th anniversary of the Selma March and passage of the Voting Rights Act. I am further honored that she is receiving an honorary Doctor's of Law degree from my college, Wayne State University. Let us always remember what Mrs. Liuzzo and the tremendous impact her quiet courage had on the civil rights struggle. She is truly She is truly a Detroit hero. Thank you, and God bless you. And I would like to present, on behalf of Detroit City Council, a Distinguished Service Award and memoriam to the family of Ms. Viola Liuzzo. Council President Jones and members of the Detroit City Council shall never forget her sacrifice. And she has earned in memoriam the City of Detroit Distinguished Service Award presented by the City Council as an expression of sincere appreciation by the people of this community and is signed by all 9 council members. God bless all of you.
Thank you very much, President Jones. We are extremely fortunate to have many distinguished guests, and this is where I'm going to get in trouble because I know there are other people who I don't have slips of paper for. So if you're distinguished, stand up. No, I'm just joking. Everyone here, everyone here obviously is distinguished in your own way. But I do want to acknowledge Wayne County Executive Warren Evans, who's here with us today. City of Detroit Corporation Counsel and Human Rights Director, Butch Hollowell, I guess I should give your whole name. And Human Rights Director Portia Roberson. Corey Woodford from Senator Gary Peters' office. Richard Clement from President Pro Tem George Cushenberry's office. Of course, we see Judge Damon Keith from the Sixth Circuit. And I know that there were other judges who were expected here today. I do see one in the, I see Terrence Keith in the Ross's. Is there, I hate to put you on, I didn't get any notices about anyone else, but I know that there were some who were expected. So we definitely warmly welcome you here to Wayne State University. And thank you for joining us today. Many members of our honorees family are here with us today, and we'd like to take a moment to introduce 3 generations of the Liuzzo family. From Grants Pass, Oregon, Mrs. Liuzzo's daughter, Mary Lillabo. From Toll House, California, her daughter, Penny Harrington. From Irwin, Tennessee, her daughter, Sally Prado. From Messick, Michigan, her son, Anthony Liuzzo. And from Plymouth, Michigan, her grandson, Joshua Liuzzo, and great-grandson, Jacob. There are a number of other members of the family who are in the audience, including her sister, Mrs. Rose Lemming, who's here. If I could just ask all members of the family to please stand who are in the audience joining us today. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for making this moment even more special by your participation. The deans of 2 of our schools and colleges have special presentations for this afternoon's ceremony. As you know, Mrs. Liuzzo was a student in the College of Nursing at the time of her death, and I would like to introduce our new dean. She's only been here for 7 days, and we're very happy to have her here on campus, Lori Clabo, who will give remarks on behalf of the College of Nursing.
Thank you, Governor Trent. I'm honored to represent the College of Nursing in today's celebration. Viola Liuzzo, a nursing student, clearly embodied the core values of her chosen profession: dignity, integrity, advocacy, altruism, and social justice. And she did much more than express these values. She lived them. In her willingness to take a stand for civil rights, she not only made an impact on her local community, but on our nation. In the College of Nursing, we also have a long history of advocacy. Catherine Favell, the first dean of the college, was also a civil rights leader and a promoter of social justice. Under her direction, the college admitted students for the first time strictly on the basis of ability, without consideration of race as a factor. And where some hospitals had previously refused to place students of color, Dean Favell required, as part of any affiliation agreement, that all nursing students be accepted at affiliating agencies. Today, the college continues to focus on issues of social justice. Our students' learning experiences extend well beyond the classroom through community engagement projects and in our own work to eliminate disparities in health and healthcare delivery. It is in this spirit of caring and advocacy that Viola Liuzzo continues to inspire us today. And so today, I am very pleased to announce that the College of Nursing has created a scholarship to honor her legacy. The Viola Liuzzo Scholarship will be awarded this fall to an undergraduate nursing student who expresses a passion for social justice and who aims to make a difference in our community and beyond. And to her family, we are proud to play a part in honoring your mom's legacy and in ensuring that recognition of her commitment to social justice and community engagement will continue well into the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean Clabo. And obviously, everyone is a VIP, but I really do want to recognize, and I know that Dean Benson probably will do this as well, Dean and Cynthia Robb, who are here, who he served as a lawyer for the family, and I know that Dean Benson will tell you more about that, but I didn't want you to think that I don't think you're a VIP, because I do. And next, speaking of great lawyers, we will introduce the Dean of the Law School to step forward for a special announcement. Dean Benson.
Thank you, Governor Trent, for bringing us all here today with your vision, and thank you to the Board of Governors for your work in making today's event honoring Viola Liuzzo a reality. Viola Liuzzo is a hero to many of us, certainly to me. And as a student here at Wayne State, she exhibited what is best about our warrior spirit, being moved to action by the violence and injustices she witnessed not only in the South but across the nation. Like Mrs. Liuzzo, many of our students here at the law school have a long legacy of advocating for civil rights. And just as Mrs. Liuzzo was moved to answer Dr. King's call to action and join the marchers in Selma, so too were 4 Wayne Law students who also decided to join the second march in Selma and left in a borrowed Oldsmobile, drove down to the South. George Edwards, Todd Ensign, Stan Walker, and Ron Hevelston traveled to Selma because they, like Mrs. Liuzzo, wanted to take a stand for justice against the atrocities of Bloody Sunday. And I'm grateful that one of those students, Ron Hevelston, and his wife, Mary Ann, are here with us today to celebrate and remember Mrs. Liuzzo's strength and courage. Ron, thank you for joining us today. In the 5 decades since Selma, Many of our students and alumni have continued a legacy of advocating for social justice. Of course, one of them and one of the most prominent is our alum, Dean Robb. Thank you for all the work you have done for the Liuzzo family and for all of us who seek justice. Thank you. And of course, my mentor, Judge Keith, thank you for joining us today as well, and for all that you have done throughout your life to honor this work. I recently was fortunate enough to be in Selma for the 50th anniversary of Bloody Sunday with a number of our students, and quite frequently, in fact, since the Keith Center was founded several years ago by the director Peter Hammer, who's also here today, we take annual trips to Selma and walk across that bridge as a way of demonstrating and helping students feel the true courage that went into that moment and the sacrifice that so many endured. Some of those students who joined me for that 50th anniversary last month are here today. And like a lot of them, while I was there last month, I could not stop thinking about, throughout the days and the celebrations, about the Liuzzo family and how tragic it was that you lost your mother, how powerful it was that her death led the way for a Voting Rights Act, and how inspiring it was that her sacrifice has prompted thousands of others, myself included, to dedicate their lives to protecting everyone's right to vote. So today, in honor of this great celebration where I have never been more proud to be a warrior, I want to thank you, the Liuzzo family that are here today, for all that you have endured, all the pain and the loss and the struggle that has marked your lives. And in that pain and in that loss and in that struggle, a new generation of voting rights activists has emerged, dedicated to giving meaning to your family's sacrifice by continuing the work that Viola would have wanted all of us to champion. So thank you. I'm pleased also to announce the creation of a permanent remembrance of the Mrs. Liuzzo's sacrifice. Today, immediately following the ceremony, we will be dedicating a tree and a memorial plaque in the Wayne Law Courtyard as a permanent remembrance of Viola Liuzzo's sacrifice and the work that our students have done throughout decades to stand for justice and inspire change. It is my hope that as our students continue their day and work to be the next generation of advocates for justice, that they will daily be reminded and inspired by your family's work and sacrifice. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dean Benson. We've just been joined by Judge Avon Cone, who's here. If you can just wave, Judge Cone. Thank you so much for joining us today. President Wilson, a distinguished citizen, has been recommended for an honorary degree.
Would the Honorable Gary Pollard, Chair of the Board of Governors, please join me at the podium for conferral of the honorary degree. Would the Honorable Paul Masseron and the Honorable Kim Trent please escort Viola's grandson, Joshua Liuzzo. At the family's request, Joshua will receive the hood during the ceremony. Would the Honorable Diane Dunaskus please escort Viola's great-grandson, Jacob, forward. At the family's request, Jacob will receive the diploma at the conclusion of the ceremony. Would the remaining board members escort Viola's children, Mary Littlebow, Penny Harrington, Sally Prado, and Anthony Liuzzo forward for the reading of the citation and the conferral of the degree. Wayne State University awards the honorary Doctor of Laws degree, honoris causa, to Viola Farber Gregg Liuzzo, posthumously for her work as a civil rights activist and for her political and social convictions, which ultimately cost her her life. Mrs. Liuzzo traveled to Alabama in March 1965 to help the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. Led by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., with his efforts to register African American voters in Selma. Shortly after arrival, she was murdered by members of the Ku Klux Klan. Mrs. Liuzzo's decision to go to Alabama was driven in part by the events of March 7th, 1965, in Selma, known as Bloody Sunday. She watched the brutal assault on protesters in a news broadcast and felt compelled to join the fight for civil rights. Politically and socially active, Mrs. Liuzzo was a member of the Detroit chapter of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. She knew firsthand about the racial injustices that African Americans often suffered in the South, having spent part of her youth in Tennessee and Georgia. On March 21st, 1965, more than 3,000 marchers, led by Dr. King, began their trek from Selma to Montgomery. 4 days later, the group reached Montgomery, where Dr. King gave a speech on the steps of the state capitol building to a crowd of 25,000. During the march, Mrs. Liuzzo drove supporters between Selma and Montgomery. That night, Mrs. Liuzzo was driving another civil rights worker back to Selma when a car pulled alongside her vehicle and shot at Mrs. Liuzzo, striking and killing her. Mrs. Liuzzo's funeral was held in Detroit with many prominent members of government and the civil rights movement there to pay their respects, including Dr. King. Shortly before the time of her death, Mrs. Liuzzo had returned to school, enrolling part-time in the College of Nursing at Wayne State University. It is perhaps not surprising that Mrs. Liuzzo sought an education for a career that often attracts those who want to serve humanity. 5 decades later, after her death, Mrs. Liuzzo's memory continues to inspire the Wayne State University community because she perfectly embodies Dr. King's exhortation that everyone can be great because everyone can serve. In recognition of her commitment to social justice and the ultimate price she paid for that commitment, and to honor her dedication to the rights of all humankind, Wayne State University posthumously and proudly bestows on Viola Greg Liuzzo the degree of Doctor of Laws honoris causa. Governor Pollard, as president of Wayne State University, and on behalf of the faculty, I am pleased to present members of the Liuzzo family for the conferral of the degree.
Thank you, President Wilson. By the authority of the people of the state of Michigan, as vested in the Wayne State University Board of Governors, we are proud to confer upon Viola Greg Liuzzo the degree of honoris causa. Posthumously, and with this hood and diploma, admit her to all the privileges and rights and responsibilities of that degree. Thank you.
Hold it up high, son. Hold it up, buddy. Hold it up high. Hold it up high. Hold it up high, buddy. Would you like to hold it? Would you like to hold it?
And now we will hear from Anthony Liuzzo, the son of Mrs. Liuzzo.
Well, I vowed today that I was not going to break up, but that one went out the door a long time ago. Just want to thank President Emory Wilson, members of Wayne State Board of Governors. Special thanks, Kim, Trent. Thank you so much for working so hard. Julie Herschel-Miller and the members of the Planning Committee. Dean Joycelyn Benson from Wayne State Law School. Dean Laurie Clavo from Wayne State College of Nursing. All the donors and people who work to make it possible for myself and my family to attend and be here. And I know it was a lot of work. We are not the easiest family to do things with. It's a great honor for us to accept this. The first ever posthumous degree is, I mean, I really don't have words to explain how we feel. You know, my mother felt very strongly in education. She taught us at an early age that it was important. She felt so strongly that she pulled us out of school and to protest. And it may seem uneducated, but it was very educated. She wanted to have a protest to say that children at the age of 16 are not responsible enough and have not had enough life experience to make the decision to drop out of school because it is a life-altering decision. So she, in typical mom fashion, pulled us out of school, got herself arrested, and refused to let them drop the charges, insisted on being charged so there'd be a record of why she did it. That is how we lived, and that's how we learned, and we learned that all people are equal. Skin, beliefs, whatever, we are all equal, and she was a stickler for that. She knew what she was going down to Detroit, or down to Alabama. She knew that it was dangerous. I've heard people say, well, she didn't really know this or she didn't know that, and but she did. She knew exactly what she was going into. Didn't matter though, because she would be, I know she would be willing, and she did lay down her life to change this nation, and she, her death did help pass the Voting Rights Act in 1965, and we are forever thankful to her for that. But I want to add that that work needs to be completed because they have taken parts, very important parts of the Voting Rights Act out. And we have to fight back because she gave life, not only her, but there was many, many people who gave their lives and blood was spilled so that everybody would be guaranteed a simple, basic constitutional right to vote. Not a civil right, but a constitutional right to vote. So we have to, I call upon Congress, I call upon the Senate, I call upon each and every one of you to contact your congressmen and senators and let them know that you won't stand for it. We want the 1965 Voting Rights Act put back to the way it was when it was passed on August 6, 1965. So with that, three generations of Viola's lineage, of course myself, my son Joshua, his son Jacob, my sisters Mary, Penny, Sally, my aunt Mary, who I haven't seen in 20 years, cousins are here, and we all just want to say thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We thank you. I have bad hearing. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, my brother Tommy. Yeah, he was written down here, but I lost that a long time ago too. So. My brother Tommy in Alabama couldn't make it, but he is here in spirit with us. Thank you.
I would like to take a moment to acknowledge and offer our sincere gratitude to our sponsors whose generosity has made this day possible. The groups are listed on the back of your programs, but I'd like to ask the representatives of the following organizations to please stand as I call your group's name. The ACLU of Michigan, and I know I saw Carrie Moss earlier. I don't think I see her. Absolutely. Okay, ACLU of Michigan, Delta Airlines, and I know Dana DeBell is here. There you are. First Unitarian Universalist Church of Detroit. I don't know if there's a representative from that church. The Graphic Communications Conference of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, District Council 3. In fact, the Teamsters, as you've heard before, Mrs. Liuzzo's husband was a business manager for the Teamsters, and Al Mixon from the International Brotherhood of Teamsters is here from Ohio, and he has joined us. And if you could stand, Mr. Mixon, thank you. I'm sorry, it's very important to note that he's the International Vice President of the Teamsters. Thank you.
Teamsters brought our mother home from Alabama.
So one of my favorite parts of today is seeing this beautiful necklace that Sally Prado had made that has an image of Mrs. Liuzzo with the inscription, well-behaved women seldom make history. And as you can see, this is a generational thing because we're still not well-behaved after all these years. That's a great thing. Just keep taking the, okay. And I know we're joined by several neighbors and friends of the family, including Sally's second grade teacher is in the audience. Will you please stand? Thank you. So I stopped at the Teamsters. The International Brotherhood of Teamsters local unions 247, 332, and 406. And I also want to acknowledge Sean Ellis if he's in the house. Is Sean here? I didn't see him today. There he is. Sean was a very important friend to us in this process. The Michigan Council, Regional Council of Carpenters and Millwrights. I didn't see Lisa Canada. Is Lisa here today or anyone from the council? Well, we want to thank them because they have been very generous to this effort. I see my friend Shirley Stancato from New Detroit Incorporated. And our other friend, James Settles from the UAW-4. Who is doing amazing things. I just have to give you a shout out. Everybody is, but thank you, Jimmy, so much for your help on this. This day also would not have been possible without the creativity, resourcefulness, and commitment to excellence of our planning committee, and I would like to ask them all to please stand at this time. and you will find their names on the back of the program. I also want to acknowledge our student volunteers from the organization Sister to Sister. They actually hosted a screening of the film Home of the Brave yesterday, and they have just been so committed to making sure that these days have been very meaningful and well run, and we want to thank them for all of their work today. And I think they're outside working as we speak. But I want to thank them. Finally, I want to just really express our deepest thanks to each one of you for sharing this important moment for Wayne State University and for this family with us. This ceremony marked, as you've heard before, the first time in the history of this university that we have awarded a posthumous honorary degree, and I can't think of a more worthy recipient. There is an African proverb that says, "As long as you speak my name, I shall live forever." Today, Viola Liuzzo, we speak your name. We speak your name and we tell your story because you inspire us and fortify us for the work that lies ahead. Thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you to your family for your strength. And thank you to my colleagues on the Board of Governors and to President Wilson for this long overdue honor for a true Michigan heroine. This brings to close the honorary degree ceremony. As indicated in your program, the next portion of the afternoon is the unveiling of a memorial plaque in the law school courtyard. Due to space constraints, we have made arrangements for a simulcast of this very brief ceremony that you can watch here in the auditorium. And members of the platform party and the Liuzzo family will be led by marshals out to the law school commons, where we will have the dedication ceremony, and the audience is asked to remain here and remain seated during the processional and for the brief ceremony that will follow. As we depart the auditorium, please join the Wayne State University Choral Union in the singing of "We Shall Overcome."
Join us.
We shall we'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall.
Thank you for joining us this afternoon as we formally dedicate this space in the law school courtyard in remembrance of civil rights heroine Viola Liuzzo. We are so honored again to be a part of this day and to be joined by the members of the Liuzzo family whose sacrifice has meant so much to so many, and has inspired so many to continue to fight for justice throughout their lives. And so, recognizing that tomorrow is Mrs. Liuzzo's, or would have been Mrs. Liuzzo's 90th birthday, we're very proud to stand here today and honoring her life and her sacrifice and her legacy, which is to teach us to stand up and speak out against inequality. It's to teach us and inspire us to continue the work ahead, to continue to seek justice for all. And we hope that by dedicating this space in our courtyard today, that we will be creating a permanent remembrance and celebration of Viola's life and her sacrifice and the inspiration that will continue for generations to come as we all seek to fight the battles against injustice and intolerance. I'd like to introduce a student at the law school who embodies many of Viola's characteristics. Cecil Roberson is a second-year law student at Wayne State University Law School. He is a lifelong Detroiter, and he has dedicated himself and his career to giving back to the city. He's currently a student in our free legal aid clinic in Detroit and in our business law clinic, and also works as a law clerk to many startup companies in Detroit. Cecil's active in the Black Law Students Association, and he'll be speaking today on behalf of the Student Advisory Task Force that helped make this tree dedication possible. Cecil.
Thank you, Dean Benson. The Webster's Dictionary defines sacrifice as to surrender something for the sake of something else. Those words can't describe the sacrifice that Viola Liuzzo and her family has made. A native Detroit resident, a mother of 5, a Wayne State University student, left her home, her family, her friends, her education, and traveled to Alabama using her own car to fulfill Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream of racial equality. Viola surrendered many things, including her life, for the sake of something else. My name is Cecil Roberson. I am a second-year law student here at Wayne State University Law School. I am the president of the Black Law Student Association. I am a graduate of Cass Technical High School and a born and raised Detroiter. I stand here today as that something else. I would like to say thank you to Viola and her family for their sacrifice on behalf of the students at Wayne State University Law School. I would like to say thank you on behalf of the city of Detroit for your sacrifice. And most importantly, on behalf of all African Americans, I would like to say thank you. Because of the sacrifice that Viola and the family has made, I am able to stand here amongst all nationalities, races, cultures, and creeds as equal. For your sacrifice, we are forever grateful. Thank you for being the definition of sacrifice.
Thank you, Cecil, and to all the students who put work and time and effort to make this memorial happen today, and to our planning committee as well. I always say at Wayne State Law School, we're dedicated to training the next generation of advocates for justice, and I really can think of nothing I'd rather our students see as they walk to classes every day than a permanent reminder of what it means to sacrifice and seek access to justice. So with that, Sally, will you join me in unveiling the plaque? The plaque reads, "In memoriam, Viola Liuzzo. We dedicate this tree to Viola Liuzzo as a permanent remembrance of her contributions and sacrifice. A mother, Detroiter, Wayne State University student, and an activist, Liuzzo gave her life for civil rights, calling the struggle everybody's fight." After Bloody Sunday, Liuzzo traveled from Detroit to Alabama to participate in the successful Selma to Montgomery March. On March 25, 1965, Liuzzo shuttled marchers home from Montgomery. On a rural highway, she and her passenger, Leroy Morton, were attacked by the Ku Klux Klan, firing guns into her car. Liuzzo was shot and killed. Wayne State University uplifts her memory in the name of truth and freedom for all. Thank you. Penny Liuzzo will now share some remarks in tribute to her mother. Penny?
Pretty beautiful. What an amazing day. I want to thank you all for all being here to honor my mother. This is very hard. I really thought I wasn't going to... It's very overwhelming. It took so long. I mean, we knew what my mother was. We knew what a wonderful person. We loved her. And now everyone's going to see she was not this person that the FBI tried to portray her as. She is a hero. And I am her legacy. And there is her legacy. And there is her legacy. We are all her legacy, and we will keep going. We will keep fighting. And my brother is right. So that vote, so we don't have to pass a Voters' Rights Act anymore. So it's there because everybody is created equal. We are all created in God's image and likeness. He looks like all of us. We are him and he is us. And that's what I want you to remember. Let there be peace, and let it begin with me.
Thank you, Penny, and thank you again to the Liuzzo family. I say personally and on behalf of many of us here today that we are continually inspired by your mother's sacrifice and the loss and struggle that all of you have experienced. It's been one of my greatest honors to stand with you here today at this very special moment, and it's a moment I won't soon forget, and I'm very proud that the law school and that Wayne State University has honored you and your family today. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us this afternoon, and especially Viola's children and grandchild and great-grandchild who have waited 50 years for your mother's legacy to be properly honored. I hope you all will join me in the Spencer Partridge Atrium now for reception and refreshments, and thank you again for being here today. Thank you.